Hey, we're back. This is John,
It's Paul.
And it's Eric.
and we are What If Drunk Geeks.
Well, at least one of us is drunk.
A couple. I'm not feeling any pain. So we are two episodes into recording tonight after a few weeks absence. So at least a couple of us decided we could tie one on while we were recording. We are here to do our review of the Loki series, episode 1. So let's get into it. Loki.
Can I start?
Did this thing even have a fucking title? Because I didn't catch it. I was like,
Yeah, glorious objective, something like that. Grand
Okay.
purpose.
Grand Purpose. That sounds right.
I'm not sure what the title is, but I am a god. The way they did sort of Loki, the mischievous god character in this
Glorious
was
purpose.
Great.
The entire show is based on in Avengers Endgame. The Avengers go back in time to try to steal the Infinity Stones, and when they go to steal the Tesseract from 2012, shit gets fucked up because Hulk doesn't want to walk down the stairs no more, and
no stairs.
no stairs. And Loki winds up with the Tesseract in front of him. If you've seen Endgame, you've seen it. And then bang, we're here. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, that's a good premise. That said, I love the way they did this. Is this an alternate timeline? I'm not even actually sure how they're playing this out.
Okay, so while we were watching this, Heather's one comment through the entire thing was, God, I fucking hate time travel. All right, so within their parameters, there's a set timeline that's supposed to happen.
The sacred timeline.
The sacred timeline.
The sacred timeline, yes. They make it very clear.
The Time Variance Authority, the TVA, is watching. Anything that goes off of that is a branch that needs pruning. When Loki picked up the Tesseract in 2012 in Avengers Endgame and disappeared, that was a variant. That's what starts this. Now, in the show, they put forth they show. Sorry, I didn't want to say that twice. But in the episode, they show that if something happens that goes away from the sacred timeline, the Time Variance Authority comes in and prunes it and resets the timeline so that it stays within that sacred timeline. Loki having done that is a variant himself, so they have to deal with him, but they've pruned that timeline already. Essentially, is what I kind of came across.
Yeah.
How I understood it. They pruned that timeline so that the sacred timeline would be okay. He's here, now they have to deal with him. They're going to punish him one way or another, however.
And ultimately, his punishment will be to be reset
Right.
just before he gets the Tesseract and dips.
Right.
Just to set the timeline back. Here's the biggest problem I had with most. I really like this episode. I've got a fundamental problem with one part of it, and we can talk about this in a second as we kind of go through what happened. But
I think half of our answers are going to be Hulk and Endgame going, time travel.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
You think about what happened in Endgame and the number of times they go back in time and do something, right? Tony Stark goes back and ends up having to get one of the stones, ends up kind of having a conversation with his father. Cap goes back and ultimately to put the stones back and stays and comes back as Old Man Cap. They go back in order to get the Soul Stone. They kill Black Widow. And you're thinking, well, how aren't all of these things variants? And why aren't they in trouble? And then they deal with this, and there's one line that there's the judge, right, as Loki goes to his hearing, and he says, "You should be after the Avengers," and the judge just goes, "Nope, they were supposed to do that." And you're like, wait.
Right. Which has always been my biggest problem with comics when they get into like this bigger power. That's my problem, because you always have that bigger power that kind of controls everything. So then everything else you're reading kind of doesn't really matter.
Right.
So while the stories are cool, you kind of get like, why am I bothering with some of this other shit? So it's kind of weird, but I've got faith in them since they've done 10 years worth of shit. So I've got faith so far, and not to put the cart in front of the horse, but overall I enjoyed this episode. So we'll get into it more, but I liked this episode where it was going. But yes, to understand, like my wife, I hate time travel shit. I get that, but I can kind of, because my mind is already fucked up, I can kind of like put things in a certain perspective. I kind of understand where they're trying to go with this. So yeah. A lot of the shit that they're going to try to explain, you just got to kind of accept with a grain of salt.
The other thing I like is it's got both a retro feel to it while also being a sort of an advanced technology. And so if you've ever played Fallout, any of the computer games that have a very sort of 50s feel to them, 50s, 60s era, like in the credits, they have these like really sort of throwback. So you think you're a variant, or so you found out you're a variant. The movie he has to watch with the little Miss.
It's very Disney.
Yeah, it felt a little like Tomorrowland kind of.
Yes.
A bit retro, a bit futuristic. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in this, where there's callbacks to silly little Disney things, where like you said, there was a cartoon clock or whatever the hell the thing was. It was walking around like, so you're a variant, and here's what's going to happen. Yeah. It was a very Disney getting on a ride kind of thing that was going on at the beginning of this episode. It was kind of cool. I don't know. All in all, the writing and all of the Marvel shit kind of hits me in the right spot. So probably the wrong guy to be narrating this. So go ahead, Eric. Continue on.
Okay, so I would say I really like what the series has done, because it was, from my perspective, totally unexpected. And so I constantly, along with the two of you, make wrong predictions about what's going to happen in things. And so, not that we talked about Loki a whole bunch, but I had a different idea about what happened after he zapped out after grabbing the Tesseract, right? And so this idea that that wasn't an escape for him, but he ended up essentially in a torturous prison, right, where he couldn't do anything after grabbing the Tesseract and altering the timeline, I think as they posed it in the show, is actually very interesting. And what I kind of like even more, and it's a thing that Marvel has done repeatedly over series and series and series, but kind of in a poor way, is that the super-powered hero is not actually the super-powered hero, right? Everybody can beat somebody somewhere, somehow, right? And so with the TVA that they've introduced in this series, even a god, which Loki thinks he is, and he's not terribly wrong in that thought, is overpowered by some power of some other organization who isn't uber omniscient. What the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Omniscient or omnipotent. Yeah, they're not that, but omniscient, omnipotent, both are the same. They're not that though, right? They're just trying to follow what they think is a preordained timeline. And it doesn't matter that he's a god or whatever, and he's going to break somebody, and he does a couple things in the episode where you think he's going to release a power, and it's like, never mind. And so all of that sort of plays into it, sort of the theme they've set up. But I like it. I like it a lot, actually. We're only one episode in, so how could I like it a lot? But I actually do.
I like this so much more than, and again, I've been a big defender of everything Marvel's done. I like this so much more than the WandaVision, and I knew what they were going for.
Yeah, sorry, one more thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Tom Hiddleston.
I was getting there.
I didn't love him in all the other stuff. I love him now. I think that is a perfect persona to put on this squashed god, right? That has no powers anymore. I like it. And he's sort of like, no, fuck you. I'm a god. And then 10 seconds later, it's like, lick my boot. That kind of thing.
I'm actually going to counteract that. Within one episode, right? Between what I loved about WandaVision, what I loved about Falcon Winter Soldier, this thing dropped, and I was like, I am like 180% in. I'm all in. I forgot how much I loved Tom Hiddleston as Loki.
That's not a contradiction. We're in agreement. I think he did really well here.
Oh, you said like you weren't sure how much you liked him before. I loved him as Loki every time I saw him.
Well, yeah, okay, that's fair. He is a great Loki in all the Marvel stuff, but as a lovable character, he earned it in this one episode. I was like, oh shit, yes.
Well, here's the thing. There's a combination of his acting and their writing. I'm not going to take anything away from their writing because also, since we're on the subject, Owen Wilson, who, by the way, I'm pretty sure has broken his nose 5 more times since the last time I saw him.
And that fucking nose is terrible.
It's actually got like a divot out of it.
I don't know what the fuck happened to him, but we'll talk
about
about
a zigzag at this point.
Yeah.
He's running a Z formation through the defense. I don't know what the hell's happening.
Something's going on with him. But between the two of them in this episode, I forgot how much I actually do like Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
When he's like written well. But between the writing and Tom Hiddleston's acting, I loved him as Loki in every movie he was in. And then he just takes it in one episode, like to the stratosphere. Like he brings you, not to put the cart in front of the horse again, but like we know through the movie series, when his mother dies is kind of when he turns and tries to help out Thor, right? Within this series, the same thing happens to him, even though he's a younger Loki, because he sees it happen. So it's like he relives the same emotions within the span of 30 minutes or whatever, but you see it. And when you see it in this actor, he does a really good friggin' job of conveying, like, that's his turning point. His mother and his father are his turning point, no matter what he wants to portray to everybody else. That's his turning point in the old movies and in this. And it's really cool. Like, I picked up right away.
A quick setup of sort of once he gets captured by the Time Varying Authority.
Yeah, because we completely skipped like all the plot.
He's got the Tesseract. He ends up in the desert, right? The TVA steps through these sort of time gates, grab him. He's in their intake facility and goes through all the stuff. Ends up in a hearing in front of a judge, and Owen Wilson, who is a police detective essentially.
Yeah, he's a detective.
Yeah, speaks to the judge and ends up taking him to an interrogation room. And there's this really great scene of the two of them having this, Owen Wilson's asking them questions, but the questions are like, do you enjoy hurting people? And he goes through all of the stuff, and he plays on this viewer some things that we were never, exposed to. It looks like Loki's in the 60s, and he tells the stewardess he's got a bomb and there's cash in the thing.
He was DB Cooper.
Yeah.
Which is in real life a great myth.
Right. Someone who
robbed an aircraft and got all this money, jumped out, disappeared.
Never seen him again.
Here it was Loki. Yeah.
And then you go through some of the other scenes that we did see, right? He gets choked out and eventually killed by Thanos and some other stuff. And he's really got to confront what he's done. And if you were what are you trying to take over? And they have this really actually funny scene where he's like, you want to rule Midgard? What else? The 9 realms, space. You want to rule space? Be the king of space? Yeah. And he's got to realize that like, he's never going to get those things. Why does he want them? And B, he's never going to get them. And he exists to make Thor and the Avengers look good. And he having to deal with all that really has him messed up. And then he manages to, and every time he tries to attack, there's this little thing that they can spin time back a couple of seconds for the person wearing the collar. And so he just keeps getting spun back. He ultimately steals it, escapes from the little holding cell, and some stuff happens, and turns the tables on one of the TVA guards and is able to spin her back because he gets the little collar off of himself. And then I think the big reveal, part of the way through the episode, you see Owen Wilson's character, Mobius, Agent Mobius. That's a thing. And then they're tracking down these crimes that have happened, and one of them's in the 1500s, and
someone's killing their agents.
Yeah, someone's killing their agents, and as they're in this crime scene, a little kid comes in, and he talks to the kid, and he says, "John, I thought of you at this point." He says, "Who did it?" And the kid points at one of the stained glasses, and it's a picture of the devil. And I was like, Morpheus did it. Mephisto, sorry, not Morpheus. And so, and ultimately what you figure out by the end is Owen Wilson's character asks, he's like, we need your help. We're tracking a variant that's killing our agents. And Loki's got to decide, is he going to help or not?
Yeah. And Loki straight up says, why do you need my help?
Yeah.
Owen Wilson says, because the variant we're chasing is you.
Right.
Now, let's rewind to when they come up on that murder scene, when Owen Wilson's character says the stab wounds are consistent. I'm telling both of you right now, right then, I said, is Loki. It's another Loki. I knew it. So I called that one. The little devil picture in the stained glass, that had me laughing too. I was like, oh, Mephisto. But it's also a call to Loki being a trickster or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll die on the Mephisto hill. He's showing up at some point. In Doctor Strange too.
One of these, yeah.
He'll show up in Doctor Strange. But yeah, I called Loki as soon as he said the stab wounds are consistent with what we found. I was like, it's Loki. And then he said, we're tracking you. I said, I got it. But yeah, it's all in all, like, they did a good job with bringing the 2012 Loki basically to the same point they brought Endgame Loki. By the time Endgame came around, Loki was aligned with Thor, because Ragnarok had happened and all that, and he was with him, and he died at Thanos' hand. This is for me, I was impressed with the way the writers got it all through in literally one episode. Boom. He's seen what his life is going to be. He's done with that. And now you can move on for the rest of the series. He's already here. I know what I was going to do was wrong. My mother died. My father died. My brother loved me. And I died to defend him, yada, yada, whatever. And now we just go. That was one episode. And the trailer, fuck the trailer. I like Eric said, I thought this was going to be something completely different.
Mhm.
Like the trailer showed half of the trailer was that DB Cooper shit. That whole scene, him jumping out of the plane and Heimdall catch me and all that other bullshit. That was one part of one episode. So I'm like all in on what the fuck we're doing here.
I didn't say that in front of the public, for the record. That was just two of us, three of us talking. So
Yeah, by the way,
nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. But
spoiler alert for the I'll put it in the front of this episode.
So I will say the Honorable Mr. Morbius is not Owen Wilson in the comics, but he has that super thick mustache thing going on, and I love the way they played that up with Owen Wilson here. It was like, once you understood what was happening, you were like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And Owen Wilson, he played that part to a T. I mean,
yeah, I do not give him enough credit. I can honestly,
it wasn't even the sort of honorable Mr. Mobius thing, but the way he plays off Loki and at sort of gets him to divulge, personal detail. Owen Wilson is, I'm honestly, if we're being honest, right, as a person, he is, as a person, as an actor, he's not so much different than like whatever people we've talked shit about, and that he's
I've always lumped him in like with his little wall or what.
Yeah, he's not cast type, but he plays himself, right? And so the way he did it in this show, though, it didn't really detract from the story. It was sort of like oh, yeah, okay, that's the Mobius I would have expected, right? That Owen Wilson is exactly like what it should be.
I watched him in this show, I was like, I cannot wait to see more of Owen Wilson.
Yeah, and so I don't know where they're going to go with this, but Mobius has ties into She-Hulk, and there's so many things that they could do with this ancillary character, but you don't pay a guy, $10 million or whatever they paid Owen Wilson to do this unless you're going to exploit it, right? So I feel like his character is insignificant, but it's all the significance, at least in the first few episodes of the show. And I think they're going to bring him around elsewhere,
We're halfway there. Do we have anything else concrete out of this episode that we want to talk about before we wind up getting into speculation? Because, we're already there with this episode.
No, honestly, this episode didn't offer you much. I love the Hiddleston reactions to everything. The I'm a god, fuck you. I mean, to an extent, it was a little bit too much when at the point where he realized they could negate all his powers and he couldn't do anything and he still talks shit. I mean, it's sort of Loki Hiddleston, but at the same time, it's like, okay, what are you gonna do, bitch? I mean, so I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, they really pushed into it with his ego, right? And he knew at that point there was no reason to have ego, but it just kept doing it. And maybe that's Hiddleston's character. Maybe that's Hiddleston's Loki, and maybe that's the way we do it. I'm not knocking that concept. I'm just saying, like, damn, that was a lot after you got fucked up like over and over and over, and somebody told you were a bitch in this world,
All right, Paul.
No, I think we hit it. Interested to see what you guys think's coming.
Yeah, because really, I mean, honestly, normally we'll sit here and review an episode for an hour and a half, but it was mostly them establishing the time variant authority, and then just going off from there. Loki meeting Owen Wilson's character Morbius, and then moving from there. And like I said, it kind of like it quickly established like, okay, now we're just going to we don't know where.
Yep. I still don't love that they just sort of offhandedly dismissed the whole Avengers, we're going to go back and change the timeline thing. I mean, at one point, we know that Agent Carter, Sharon Carter from the first couple of movies, or Peggy Carter, has Sharon Carter, right? The daughter that Cap in Winter Soldier,
that's
the nurse, right? You think maybe they're going to hook up? That's Peggy Carter's daughter. But now if Cap goes back and has goes back in time, hooks up with Peggy Carter, and then stays, doesn't that mess that timeline up?
Yeah.
Like that. So the fact that they just wave that away with, nope, that's supposed to happen. Well, I don't think it is, because it messes up who Sharon Carter is, aka the power broker, as I guessed right in our last.
Yeah, and I would agree with you there. I'd
Winter Soldier episode.
like to see if they even remotely address that, or if they just gloss over it. But
no, I think they'll touch on it. But I mean, the way I saw this episode, I mean, they have a little device that just goes like this, and the timeline is reset or revamped. It's like you don't have to give any attention to that concept, right? The way they've set it up, and I think they'll probably shy it away on that premise. It's like, you know, which is a little bit too bad, but Mobius gives them the opportunity, and we've said this, I think, at least 3 other times with other characters, but this gives them the opportunity to do the Fantastic Four introduction, merge the world sort of thing, right? I mean, that's what Mobius is. Mobius at this point is the we've already had Fantastic Four, not related. We've already had X-Men, pseudo related. Now we have a pseudo villain, or whatever the hell you want to call him, that actually ties directly Fantastic Four with the rest of the Marvel universe, right? And go ahead, John.
Tying in other shit too, because as they're walking through the hallways, one, they give a really nice view of their time variance area, right? But then Loki says, this is just nothing but a nightmare. And Morbius says, no, that's another department, but I have no problem burning that one down.
Yeah.
In a lot of
intro, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it's the Miss Minutes, when he sort of watches the Welcome to the TVA movie, they talk about the various multiverses existed and then competed with each other, and so it shows them going like this and like this, and ultimately the Time Lords or the Chronomasters or whatever they call them, like, harmonize it into one sacred timeline. And so this, I think, is where we're going to end up setting up the Doctor Strange multiverse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you are.
Yep. I think it's a super interesting concept. I never would have in a million years imagined that Loki would be the series that would sort of bond all that together into a how do we explain away the multiverse and how everything connects. But this is it. This is actually pseudo smart. And I don't mean that because I like the first episode so much as Hiddleston's character and the way they've sort of introduced this is it's almost more than comic booky. You know what I mean? Like, the way they put it to you, it's sort of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Right? That was the same thing you did as like a 13-year-old when you read through some like ridiculous plot line in a comic, and it's actually done in a clever way, and
Yeah.
I think it'll work. Whichever way they're going to go, I'm hoping it's a certain thing, but whatever way they're going to go, I think this will work if they do it right.
All right. Next point of contention, or not contention, but next point that I noted, and I'm wondering if it means anything or if we're going to find out anything about it, was the elevator. There's no, yeah, you're laughing, but it's not like 1, 2, 3, whatever. There's a whole bunch of different letters in there. Anybody catch anything out of that? But his eye sure as fuck didn't.
I didn't, no, but I also didn't, which I had done every time a WandaVision episode, go back and watch a video that someone goes through, sort of, here are the Easter eggs, or here's the things you missed. It sort of went by too fast, and I didn't pause it.
See, I did, and the only one I watched was like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of letters in here and there, whatever. But in the middle, there's an X and then an O and a line in it. Could the X mean X-Men? Now you're kind of reaching, but maybe not.
So when he goes into the elevator, I'm going to say these out loud so people that have a brain, isn't three of us, can think about what those things mean, right? So on the top left side, I'm going to go down from the top left. So there's IUL, meaningless to me. FE3, which might have some meaning if you really want to stretch it. LK3, which also might have some meaning. 2W1, FHF, VG2, U77. And then on the right side, if you cross over.
Are you looking at this picture, or did you memorize this?
Huh?
Did you memorize this, or are you looking at this online right now?
No, I'm watching this. I'm looking at this.
Okay,
good. I was like, holy cow.
Wait, actually, let me backtrack. I memorized this whole thing, y'all. All right. So on the right side, there's GYE, and then 2WE, 3FG, CET, X and 1, TSL, and GE3. Okay, so I said those too fast for anybody to have any thought about any of them. There's a lot of Greek letters in there. There's a lot of numbers. Who knows what it means? But did you pick up on any specific things that triggered you in all of that?
Yeah, comment down below, because goddamn, I didn't.
Comment down below. I mean, there's a lot of X's in there. You talked about X-Men. I mean, that's definitely another connection we could have here, right? I mean, there's no question about that. These could be years. These could be periods in the timeline. These could be, who knows, Avengers episodes. We've talked about that on several other things.
Yeah.
Who knows, really? And then there's things like the smiley face, which have to do with like missed minutes. And I'm not saying that's what they are. I'm just saying they could be related to other things, you know? It's hard to say.
And to think that none of them mean nothing is stupid.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. So we have picked up on, I don't know, a billion things at this point, little hints from the show, different shows, not this one, but movies, whatever. And we said, oh, that could mean something, and none of it's disproven. In some cases, it's maybe hinted towards in a later movie that you see 2 years later, right? We don't actually know, and Feige in particular, at least for my money, is a clever fellow who knows how to connect these things, you know? So who knows what any of it means?
We'll find out. Let us know what your thoughts are.
No, you know, funny thing is, I think we'll find out for the next 3, 4, 5 years as we watch other episodes play out, and I'll be like, oh, FEF3, I get it now. You know, like that kind of,
yeah.
But who knows?
No, I agree with you. I think it's going to be coming up later. All right. Last thing I got, and then we can kind of open it up to whatever else. Who caught Stan Lee?
What's that?
Who caught the Stan Lee cameo in this one?
I didn't see it.
All right. So as Loki's walking into the TVA, one of those shots where he's coming into the TVA, there are like murals in the background, And among the murals of like the different gods and this and that, whatever, there's a shot that looks like a really young Stan Lee. And that might be, remember how like after he died, they said there's going to be a way they're going to keep him in.
Uh,
That might be a way they're doing it.
There's a
Very much looks like, and I'll find the screenshot and I'll share it with you guys, and then we can put it on the website. But there's a shot there where as he's coming in,
yeah, this is after TVA captures Loki and they bring him into their headquarters or whatever, and he's about to stand trial. And there's that I don't know, wall of effigies or whatever you want to call it. And there's one up there that looks like Stan Lee.
Center is one that looks like Stan Lee.
Yeah.
there's a scene. I don't know if this is the same scene. There's a scene, and it looks like he's walking by either a wanted poster or something like that, and he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, I know that guy."
Yeah, and I rewound it. And I still didn't know who it was.
I meant to stop and rewind, and I didn't get a chance to. But I meant to go back and check, but I don't know who that is.
I didn't know who it was. But on the Stan Lee note, if you go back and you watch the Venom 2 trailer, which we never discussed anyway, we'll hit that up next time. As Eddie Brock is walking into the store, and says, "Hi, Miss Chan," and she says, "Hi, Eddie," and she says, "Hi, Venom," and Venom says, you know, whatever he says in Chinese to her, and the tentacle comes out. It actually straightens up like a Newsweek or whatever the fuck magazine with Stan Lee on the cover. I call that. Still haven't found him in WandaVision or Falcon Winter Soldier, but he's been there in the other one, so we'll see. So there you go. If you've seen Stan Lee and other shit, let us know. All right, what else we got for this episode? Anything?
That's all I got.
That's all I got. It's a fucking amazing episode.
Yeah. Other than I'm really excited with the way they're playing this out. I think it could be super exciting for future episodes. So I'm ready to embrace it. I like the idea that Loki is nothing in this world and he has to deal with that.
Yeah. There's definitely one where the trailer really fucked me up because I thought it was going to be dragged out amongst the episodes like the other trailers were, and it's not. So for it to just be this thing that's going to happen, and after this episode, really, you've got maybe one or two little glimpses of what's going on. I'm all in. I'm ready to go. I think that's it, right?
So,
We're ready to go. All right, cool. Well, there you go. We're going to end it there because late, we're all fucking tired. And again, 2/3 of us are drunk. So we're done. All right, so let us know what you think of the episode. Like, subscribe, ring a bell, do all that bullshit. Hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks at facebook.com, Gmail, Instagram, Twitter, and that's it. Hit us up. We'll see you next week. Good night, Tony.
good night, Miss Minutes.
Good night, Lightning McQueen.